All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to College Talks summer series. I was just doing the math. Today is week 9. I'm glad to have you guys all back. I'm excited about the universities that are presenting today. I'm just going to go ahead and rattle just for a little bit as people start to come on. I was looking at the list today and I thought, wow, we've got a pretty good range of schools of where we are in the country and the types of schools. And I'm excited to hear about Spain. We've got a UC, which I'm sure there will be lots of questions about. And we've got a, tech specific school, which I think is going to be amazing. And then a lovely, from my old stomping grounds, Oxy, and one of my best, and when I read her bio, one of my favorite ice cream places also is in Eagle Rock. So I'm excited for everyone to be presenting today. So we're gonna go ahead and keep the format the same. Presenters will present. And we're going to keep the Q&A for the end, so that way everyone is able to finish off their presentation. If you have a question that is burning and it's distracting you from listening to the presentation, go ahead and put it into the Q&A, and if one of us can answer it, we will do so. Whoever's not presenting, obviously, don't do that to the presenter to make them do 2 things at once. Once again, if there is a burning question, you can put it into the Q&A. If not, then we're going to go Q&A at the end. So you're going to have to put them in there anyway, but we're going to address them at the end of the presentation. And so I see that we've got some on there right now. I'm going to wait. We had a big registration this week. I think this has been the biggest one that we've had, but I don't see everyone just yet. As I said before, I think my students and parents are getting very, very smart. And well, I already know that they're smart, but they're getting savvy in the sense that they're registering and knowing that they're going to get the recording the next day. So they don't have to be on live as we are on the webinar. So as long as they're looking at the recordings and getting the information, I guess that's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start in with the bios so you know who is presenting for you today. And I'm going to start off, and if I pronounce anybody's name incorrectly or I do anything, just pipe in and correct me, okay? All right, so first we have Will Koff. Is that correct, Will? All right. He is the Senior Admissions Counselor at Illinois Institute of Technology. Will is the Senior Admission Counselor at Illinois Tech. He's been with the university for over 6 years and started out on the transfer admission team before transitioning to the first-year recruitment. Will grew up in southeastern Ohio, is a first-generation college student. In addition to his recruitment work, Will also coordinates the Alumni Admission Volunteer Program. Will worked primarily at small liberal arts institutions prior to joining the team of Illinois Tech and attended Marietta College, which is a small school, 1,200 students, he tells me, on the banks of Ohio River for his undergraduate work. Outside of work, you will find him in the kitchen attempting a baking project, which I'm interested to hear about, on some kind, and planning his next trip. So I'm assuming you're spending more time in the kitchen baking since there isn't a bunch of trip making going on right now.
As of lately, yes, yeah. So I'm perfecting focaccia as my current project.
That's a good one. All right. Next, we have Courtney Strickland Bergen, and she is the Associate Dean of Admission at Occidental College. Courtney is a SoCal native and has been a resident of Northeast Los Angeles since matriculating at Oxy. As an Oxy student, Courtney was an orientation leader, a residence hall coordinator, and even had an eventful stint as the college mascot, which I'm also interested to hear about. She was an art history and visual arts major at Oxy, received her MFA at Otis College of Art and Design, and maintains a practice in the performing and conceptual arts in addition to her work in higher education. Courtney is an active member of the Oxy Folk and Historical Dance Troupe, and can be found indulging on ice cream at the variety of artisanal dessert shops in Eagle Rock and Highland Park. So thank you, Courtney, for joining us. Anything you want to share with us really quick about what I just said?
Well, I'll just say that being the mascot was the best until I got fired. So long story, feel free to reach out anytime. You can imagine there was much involved in that adventure.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Maria Healy is a California Regional Admissions Counselor at the University of Navarra in Pamplona, Spain. Maria is originally from Mexico, but grew up in San Diego, California. Maria attended Our Lady of Peace Academy for high school and continued her post-secondary education at San Diego State University, where she graduated in 2019. So that was very recent, and so she is going to be a good one to be asking about all of the recent things that are going on. With a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration and Management. During her junior year of college, she attended the University of Navarra in Pamplona, Spain. It was an enriching experience as she indulged in a new culture, met people from all over the world, and was challenged in a new academic environment. During that year, she was able to volunteer in their art museum, supporting various tours and community workshops, as well as interning at a marketing agency in Madrid. Working for the University of Navarra as their regional representative for the West Coast has been an exciting opportunity to open new horizons for American students. And this is the first international school that we've had in the series, and I believe we have one more in about 2 weeks. So this is great for those of you who are thinking that you might want to study full-time abroad rather than just doing a year or a semester. And last but not least, I have Kuka Acosta. She is the Associate Director of Admissions at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Born and raised in California, Kuka has a BA from UC Santa Barbara in philosophy and an MA in leadership and liberal studies from, can you pronounce for me?
Duquesne University.
Duquesne University. For 18 years, she has worked at UC Santa Barbara, including 15 years in the Office of Admissions. So if you're going to get any answers about what is what in the UC system, she's it. Her role includes coordinating outreach and yield activities, which generated over 110 applications for the fall of 2020. For the last 8 years, she has traveled the world meeting and working with counselors, students, and parents who want to study in the US. She's presented at national and international conferences on both the University of California system and UCSB. Undocumented student issues and working with first-generation college students. In her free time, she loves traveling and considers her passport the best accessory in her closet. As the first and only person in her family to have a college degree, her goals are to create guidance and encouragement to students. So welcome so much, all of you. Thank you so much. So I am going to go ahead and start with the presentation. So as always, I'll go off screen and mute myself. It will only be the presenters, so you guys can focus on one thing at a time and hear everything that they have to say. And then you will just move on to the next one and then Q&A at the end. All right, everyone? Okay, here we go. Will, you are up.
Awesome, thank you. All right, hi everyone. My name is Will, obviously, and I'm with Illinois Tech. We are in Chicago, as you can see in the photo here. Our campus is a pretty cool place. It's a mixture of very traditional design as well as more of this modernist architecture that you see on display in the photo. And we are located just about 10 to 15 minutes from the center of downtown Chicago. So it is an urban environment. If you are somebody who is interested in that sort of that setting, could be a great institution for you. Before I get too deep into sort of my slides and talking with you about some of the opportunities at Illinois Tech, I do want to just briefly kind of touch on our COVID response at the institution, so you're aware of that information. The biggest change for applicants is that we are test optional. So that is kind of the biggest change that we've made for our next year's class. But just so you know, sort of at an institutional level, you know, we are definitely being very responsive with us being in a city like Chicago. We are making sure that our students have options. So the institution is offering both in-person, virtual, and hybrid classes so that students can make the best decision for them personally for this fall. We do have housing on campus. I'll talk about that in a little bit in the presentation, but we do have some students who have opted, you know, to stay at home and take classes. So it's really kind of helping students find what's best going to be the fit for them this fall at Illinois Tech. So. if we want to go ahead to the next slide here, I can show you a little bit more about and start to kind of jump a little bit deeper into the institution. We are a STEM institution, and you know, when you hear that word STEM, you think automatically of things like engineering, you think computer science, you think, you know, maybe some of those traditional lab sciences. And that is absolutely who we are. At our core, STEM is really the basis of Illinois Tech. We do have a number of programs, 45 or over 45, but that's a lot less than you're going to hear at some of the institutions, maybe today, or definitely as you're doing your college search. You know, some people have 100+ majors. Not the case at Illinois Tech. We're very focused in what we offer our students. And so, you know, you'll see that we have the traditional pathways in these fields. You can see, you know, it's about 3,000 undergraduate students. It's a pretty small community. The total population at our university is just about 7,500 students. That's including our graduate school population, our master's, PhD level programs, all that kind of stuff. We're also one of the STEM universities in the country that happen to have their own law school as well. So we do have students who are pursuing law at the university, and you know, it's definitely a pretty diverse community. So on campus, you'll find all 50 US states represented, and a pretty large population of them do come from the West Coast. I have been a regional counselor out here in California for about 3 years, so that number has been growing, which is great, obviously. I get to keep my job as it continues to grow, but also it just really to help represent more and more folks on campus, which is something that we're really trying to do. We do have about 80 undergraduate or 80 countries represented as well at the institution. This year, our international population is a little bit smaller on campus just because of the COVID crisis. However, we do still have a pretty large international population who will be participating remotely from home, doing some of that as an option. When you think Illinois Tech, you know, you may think it's a large group of students from the surrounding area, and it is about 40% of the students coming from outside of the state. So there is sort of that close relationship with the city of Chicago and the state as a whole, but by no means would you be the only California student or the only West Coast student if you were to come to Illinois Tech. At our university, there's, you know, some things in the academic experience that might be a little different, just depending upon the other types of institutions you're looking for. One of the biggest ones is impacted majors. That's not something we have. Coming from the Midwest, that was never a term I'd even heard of until I started exploring California a little bit more. So that's something to know at Illinois Tech. With us being only 3,000 students, it is a smaller environment. Over 80% of our classes are 40 students or less, so you really get a chance to know your professors and also know the other students. That's one of the things that you'll hear about a little bit later in the presentation is collaboration and interdisciplinary work is at the core of who we are as an institution. So having those small classes and getting to know your fellow classmates is really important to us. All of our classes are taught by faculty, as well as all of our advising is done by faculty. So again, we know how important it is to make these connections with you know, folks who are in your industry and folks who are teaching your courses. And so that's really at the core of the advising and the teaching at Illinois Tech. The other thing that I think is really important to know with relation to academics at the university is 100% of the students start in their major. So when you apply to IIT, you're applying directly to the major that you want to start. There's no pre-advising or no pre-engineering coursework or anything like that. You will start as an engineering student right away. Same thing goes for architecture, computer science, all of those different programs. It is, you know, right there in the program for you. The photo that you see here is actually of our new esports lounge that we have on campus. We were really excited. This used to be a faculty lounge that really, frankly, wasn't being used by anyone. So we took it back, gave it to our students, and turned it into an esports space. So this is where our esports team practices. They also host events and things like that for sort of non-team members to come and explore gaming a little bit. You can see there's obviously a lot of computer screens in there, and we're really excited because this is now a permanent space for them. Previously, they would just pop up over the weekend in a different space and have to move all these computers and things like that. So this gives them their own dedicated space on campus. So I talked a little about the academic experience, and this is kind of sort of the main focus of this slide here. At Illinois Tech, hands-on learning is everything. We want our students to be exposed to basically taking the concepts in the classroom and applying them. We want to see how you as an individual interpret the same ideas that you might, your neighbor might be getting or your classmate might be getting. So one of the ways we do that is through undergraduate research. Obviously, we support that at Illinois Tech. We want our students to explore opportunities as early as their first year. You can jump in a lab, start to learn the basics, and then hopefully by the time you get to the second, third, and maybe fourth year, you'll actually be leading your own research projects. One of the ones that I always like to make sure students know about is the proton ring facility we have. We're part of the National Research Laboratories. We actually helped build the facility. It's called Argonne, and they have a lot of research areas, but one of the ones that we are most involved in is the proton ring, where we do primarily imaging-based research. So it's a mile facility. It's a giant ring. They fire it up once a month and send protons flying through there at a high rate and use those to do all different types of work. We've been doing some really cool stuff with brain injuries the last few years. And then we also have a few other labs that do more chemistry-based work there as well. Engineering is also involved in research. I know a lot of times we think research, we automatically go to like the biology, the chemistry, the physics, but engineering has research associated with it as well, including things like architectural engineering. So we're doing some really cool research with the HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, on creating buildings for veterans and creating them to help people who might be suffering from different ailments. So thinking about how we build buildings and what materials we're using, that's part of a research project that we have at the university. And then the last one that I want to mention there is something that's actually led by a student. She is using drones to go out and collect data from the tops of trees at an arboretum that's located about 30 minutes from our campus. It's a really amazing space, and it's really cool to see the work that she's doing. Before using drones, they would either climb up there or they would have to kind of like break branches off and bring them down, which is not something they want to do. They want to try and do the work they can with the least amount of impact. So drones are being really helpful in that work. She's a student from the West Coast, not California, but Seattle area, but she has really jumped into Illinois Tech and take full advantage of some of these experiences. Other things we have that I want to mention is iPro. It's the interprofessional projects that you see listed there. iPro is a year-long problem-solving course that our students take. So this is a guaranteed experience that every student will have in the experiential learning area. These are projects where you work in a small team, usually about 10 to 12 students max. You come up with a problem, you try to solve that over the course of the semester. So they're relatively short in their length. We want them to be something you can actually solve. We want to solve world hunger. We want to solve, all those big problems, but that's not something realistically your team can do in 10 weeks. So we want to make sure it's relatively short. This is a few examples there of the things that are coming up this fall. We have a team that's going to be doing some work in disaster prep. We have definitely teams who do the Internet of meaningful things. There's the IoT idea, but we actually want to say meaningful things because we don't want to just develop random things. We want them to be important and have an impact on the earth. And so that's another area where students can get involved. And then last, we have our off-campus programs. So Illinois Tech has a program called Elevate. That started just about 2 years ago, and it is all about helping you to find off-campus experiences that can round out the things that you're already doing. So if you think you might want to go on a study abroad trip, you want to do an internship, you're thinking about co-ops or something like that, Elevate is there as a resource on campus. It's an office you can go to. It's a dedicated team who's helping to find these opportunities and advertise them to our students. And then there's also scholarships associated with this. So we have a program where we can award some students through the Elevate program up to $5,000 that they can use in multiple experiences. So it's not tuition based. You have to use it in an off-campus experience. And that's something that Elevate helps us run, which is really exciting. Just to give you an idea of what the application process looks like at Illinois Tech, I mentioned the biggest change this year is that the SAT and ACT is optional, but normally this is what our process looks like, and then also that profile of students. I did include the ACT and SAT scores there just because that is in that most recent profile. But again, don't be concerned if you don't have those. I'll talk about how that's going to impact the scholarships and things like that as well in just a few moments. But the application process is relatively simple, or as simple as it can be. We are a Common App school, and we do only accept Common App for our first year applicants. If you're a transfer student or you are considering a transfer pathway, we do accept Common App for that. We also have our own alternative application for transfer students because we know it's a long application if you're using Common App for transfer. What we're going to require is your high school transcript and 1 letter of recommendation. We can review up to 3 of them, but it's really up to you. You don't have to have 3 by any means. I always tell students, if you have a pretty strong application and you're in that profile you see, 1 application is plenty. However, if you might have something that doesn't quite fit in the profile, or you have a really extenuating circumstance that you want to tell us about, or have somebody else kind of provide some additional background on, by all means, use all 3 letters of recommendation. Those optional items that you see listed, obviously the SAT and ACT score. The other one is a portfolio. So at Illinois Tech, we have a number of programs that might make sense to submit a portfolio. And so we do encourage students to submit those if it makes sense with your major, something like architecture, maybe the architectural engineering. If you are thinking you might want to go into robotics design and you want to send us some examples of what you've done already, please feel free to use that portfolio. We have no application fee at Illinois Tech, completely free. And the timeline is relatively simple. November 15th is going to be the priority date to put you in the running for up to full tuition scholarships. If you apply anytime throughout the year, you're automatically considered for scholarships. But if you apply early, you are in the running for up to those full tuition. That profile you see, like I said, is typically about a 3.7 to a 4.3 on a weighted GPA scale. And then for our SAT and ACTs, those are there if you have those scores. Stronger focus really on your math and science grades. We want you to do well in your history and your literature and psychology courses, things like that. But we also are a STEM institution. And for us, that means that we focus a little bit more on how your math and your science prep is. So if you struggled a little bit in history because it's not your favorite subject, that's okay at Illinois Tech. We see a lot of students who have that background and that similar experience. Just to give you an idea of sort of some of the impacts that you have at Illinois Tech, or the impact that Illinois Tech could have on your career and your growth. We have the #1 ROI in the state of Illinois when you look at the cost and then you compare that to the 20-year return on investment. Our students, obviously a lot of them being engineers, have a pretty good salary upon graduation. We also have close to 90% job placement within 6 months of graduation. So all of that kind of contributes to that return on investment. Obviously, the earlier you can start making money in your career, the longer the longer time you have to build that up. We're also ranked a best value institution, and part of that is because our scholarships are typically pretty strong at the institution. I mentioned that you're automatically considered for scholarships when you apply to Illinois Tech, and we also do have these higher level scholarships. The next slide is actually going to go into those scholarships a bit more, and I know there's a lot of information on this slide, so I apologize, but I want to try and break it down as easy as I can. Basically, the top section there are automatic considerations for you. So you can receive anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000 per year in scholarships just by submitting a common application. And that applies to both that applies to both domestic and international students. In addition to that, you could also receive up to full tuition scholarships if you apply before November 15th. That's that Camera Scholars program. It's awarded to anywhere between roughly about 60 to 90 students each year. So it is competitive to be awarded that scholarship, but it's not 1 or 2 spots that you're competing for. It is about 60 to 90 students. So that's something I always like to make sure students know as well. There are some additional scholarships listed here. So applications are required for those, but if you might be an architecture student and you want to submit a portfolio, that would be a great opportunity for Crown. Some of the others are more leadership focused. So if you've had a really great experience during your high school years and you want to continue that, or if you just want to explore leadership at a higher level while you're enrolled, these would be some great scholarship opportunities for students. For esports advocates or esports participants, we do have a scholarship program specifically for you as well. So feel free to join us and represent Illinois Tech on the digital field, as it were. And then there are a few robotics scholarship programs at the university as well. So as you can see, pretty high value scholarships and automatic consideration for all of those. So definitely something that I would encourage you to consider. In wrap up, I would say, think of Illinois Tech, think of STEM, think of us being in Chicago and having that sort of connection to the city. That's really important to our students at Illinois Tech. And that really strong ROI is something that we're typically pretty well known for. So thank you so much. I'm happy to answer questions at the end, but next up is Courtney from Occidental.
Thank you, Will. It's so nice to be here. I'm just really thrilled by the range of colleges and universities because I think we all offer something so different. And so hopefully for you all watching us today, you're able to really kind of maybe picture yourself at one of these great institutions. Now, Occidental, as you can see here, is in Los Angeles. This is a really unique campus environment because we are such a small liberal arts community. We're just 2,000 students, but we're of course in the middle of this incredibly dynamic and global city of Los Angeles. So you have the benefit of feeling like you're in a small community and a large community at the same time. Now on the next slide, you'll see kind of what I think encompasses kind of who Oxy is, because we are this great location, this really dynamic liberal arts opportunity, but also a very unique and collaborative community. The students who are drawn to Oxy are coming from all across the country, all across the world, and are part of a space where everyone is going to be achieving at really high levels, but doing so together. So this is not a competitive environment. This is not a campus culture where you find people kind of trying to outdo one another. Rather, you find a space that is incredibly service-oriented and built around kind of a shared and common goal of not only how can we do our best, but how can what we learn make the world a better place around us. I know that's what drew me to Oxy myself way back when I was looking for colleges, and it's really why I even work here now and came back to be part of the institution later. On the academic side of things, as a liberal arts college, this means that you are going to be asked to not only declare a major and have expertise in your field, but also to study across disciplines. So every student spends time in the humanities, the social sciences, the arts, regardless of your major. This is through our core program. And the core is not a list of required classes you have to take to graduate. The core really is kind of subject areas that we're going to ask you to explore. So for example, one of the core requirements is that everyone studies something that happened before the 1800s. Now there are of course centuries of time that you can choose from to meet that requirement. That might be a history class, but you could also fulfill that same requirement by taking a music class or an art class or religious studies or philosophy or geology. So all of your core requirements, anything you're taking outside of your major, you're still choosing that class based on your interests. And this really excites us because we see stronger interdisciplinary connections when you're interested in this subject, right? You'll see something it has in common with the major that you've chosen because you are interested in both of those things. And so it's easier to see those connections. The core program starts in the first year with our cultural studies program, and this is our version of a first year seminar. It's going to focus on research and writing, analytical thinking skills, but really within the lens of understanding culture and society. Now, this might be ways than you expect. We had a class this year that was really interesting called Music and Migration. So how has music changed as people groups literally moved around the globe and brought different traditions with them? But then we also had a first year course a few years ago on vampires and blood types. So maybe a culture you weren't expecting, but in this class you could have actually explored how if someone's blood type when they had been alive may or may not impact their diet once they became a vampire. Certainly one of the classes on the list that I wish I had taken when I was a student. As a school of just 2,000 students, our classes are really small. We actually only have an average class size of 19, and our student faculty ratio is 10:1. And as you can see here, there are 34 majors, 10 additional programs that are minors, and almost all of these majors can be a minor. So there aren't impacted classes or majors at Oxy. There's room for everyone to kind of spread out and, as I said, explore all of these different subjects. All of our students actually start undeclared. So even if you know what you want to study, you don't actually make your major official till your second year, because we want you to come to campus to meet our faculty, to engage in the academic experience, and then make that major official. Also, there are so many subjects that we offer that you maybe didn't get to study in high school. Like, how do you know that you want to be a kinesiology major if you've never had a kinesiology class? So we want you to really dive in and get to know that academic program at Oxy itself before you make that major official. Because our classes are so small, the classroom experience at Oxy is really based on discussion. You're sitting in circles, you're having conversations, your professor might be sitting next to you. So you're not only going to know your professor and have them know you and your name, they're also going to know more about you. They're going to be able to see the areas that you're really succeeding in and encourage you and help you and advise you in your research. But they're also going to see when things are a challenge. So at Oxy, it's just as common for a professor to offer assistance as it is for a student to ask for support. And that relationship is really built on trust and engagement and collaboration. So not just with your fellow students, but with your faculty. You see that collaboration because Oxy is an incredibly research-driven institution. Our students actually complete research throughout their 4 years, especially in their senior comprehensive project. So all students, regardless of their major, complete thesis level research or a seminar in their major. But they also have research opportunities throughout. We even have an undergraduate research center that provides funding. So you could get paid to complete research that you design yourself. And you might want to conduct that research in another country. We have a fabulous study abroad program. 75% of our students study in other countries. And this is through either research abroad, full semesters abroad, internship opportunities in other countries, and we even have some classes that take field trips to other countries. So just really exciting academic experiences. Now on the next slide, you will see that our students actually live on campus. And this adds just so much to the academic experience, because when your college also is your home, you think about it differently. It's not just school, it really is your community. And our students get traditionally are asked to live on campus for the first 3 years, but they're guaranteed housing for all 4 years, which I can assure you is actually a huge advantage in Northeast Los Angeles, not to have to look for housing in our wonderful neighborhood. But this also means that our engagement, kind of that level of participation, extends outside of the classroom. Like I said, Oxy is a very collaborative campus. So you're going to be working with your students. You're going to be completing group projects. You're going to be studying together in the library. You're going to be going to see each other giving academic presentations. But you're also going to get to enjoy this space together. You will find that there are lots of things to do in Los Angeles, and our students are taking full advantage of that, going out together to concerts, to sporting events, things that we all desperately miss in these COVID times and can't wait to return, and that our students just have great access to because of our location in Los Angeles. And the residential experience is really geared around community building. Because we want our students to get to know each other. Oxy is actually one of the most diverse liberal arts colleges in the country. Now, we are still a predominantly white institution because unfortunately higher education is still predominantly white in the United States, but we're really proud that at Oxy, 42% of our students identify as students of color, half of that from underrepresented minorities. And this is a place where you're going to meet people not just from different ethnicities, but from different religions, geographic locations, identities, orientations. You're really going to be surrounded by people who you are going to learn from. And that's just one of the biggest advantages at Oxy. Now, on the next slide, you will see that there are over 100 clubs and organizations. So being part of such a dynamic community has a lot of fabulous results. So you will see a whole range of kind of clubs, such as social clubs or academic clubs, but also clubs that are committed to service, clubs that are committed to learning more about different cultures or to identifying further with the culture that you belong to. This is a place where students are participating just in really high levels with traditions that you wouldn't find at other schools. For example, Oxy apparently has this huge dance community. It was mentioned before, I'm still part of one of our dance organizations because we actually have an alumni folk dance group, and we perform dances that we've learned from countries all over the world. But our students participate in a whole range of dance clubs, and actually every year there's a huge event called Dance Production, which is a student choreographed dance recital that 300 students participate in. So as I said, we're just 2,000 students at Oxy. This is a huge percentage of the student body, and everybody comes to see that performance. It's just one of our favorite days of the year. Another tradition that we love is actually sponsored by our Office of Religious and Spiritual Life. They host a Thanksgiving meal each November, and they serve this to the whole campus. Everyone is welcome, students, faculty, staff. And at that wonderful meal with all the Thanksgiving dishes that you love, they have every student religious club present on the history of gratitude within their spiritual faith. It's just a wonderful moment to get to learn more about our community, about these other traditions, maybe about faith practices that you've never experienced, and to see how we can all share these things that we have in common. Oxy also has a really dynamic athletics program, which you'll see on the next slide. We are a Division III school. And we have 21 varsity sports. So people don't always expect this at small colleges, but 25% of our students play a sport. So this ends up being a really big part of campus life. In fact, another one of our traditions, Oxy actually has the oldest football rivalry west of the Mississippi River between Oxy and Pomona College. And unfortunately, it was a homecoming football game where my mascot career ended, but something, again, that I look back with fondness and pride. And you can see here the range of athletics that happen on campus. Additionally, we have a really strong club and intramural sports program. About 45% of our students are involved in athletics when you include kind of that whole range of sports. If you were also to look at the number of classes we offer for like Zumba and yoga and spin, I would say the number of people involved in athletics is even higher. And all of our facilities are open to the whole campus. We have this beautiful outdoor campus with a track, tennis courts, swimming pool, all of the spaces that everyone can use. And I think something we all really enjoy, especially in the great Southern California outdoor weather. Now next, you will see just a little bit about admission. And similar to what Will's sharing, Oxy is also a common application school. So the only way to apply to Oxy is through the Common App. And in your application, we are looking for a few really important things. First of all, we do want to know that you are prepared academically for the college, because as a liberal arts school, you're going to have to study lots of different subjects. And as a small school with small classes, we want to know that you are ready to participate and engage at a high level of rigor, and not maybe to be looking for the school where you sit in the back row and don't have to say anything, because that's not what we're offering. We don't have any of those classes. So we really are looking for students who can show us an academic history that is prepared for that. We'll be looking closely at your transcript, first of all. So what classes have you taken? Have you taken that whole range of classes? Hopefully you've been enrolled in solid subjects every year of high school. So math, science, English, social studies, and a foreign language. We want to see 4 years with as many solids as possible. We also look really closely at your letters of recommendation from teachers, and we require 2 letters. And these letters are going to tell us really the impact you have had in that class, which is, we hope, to be the impact you would have at Oxy. This should be highlighting the fact that you participate, you raise your hand, you work well on group projects, you ask lots of questions, that even if something is challenging for you, you are working hard and finding ways to be successful. We are also going to look really closely at your extracurricular activities, because at Oxy, our community is so important to us that we want to know in advance if you're someone who's going to contribute positively to who we are as a campus culture. So hopefully we can see this in the extracurricular activities you already participate in. Are you someone who is involved in your school? Do you participate in clubs? Do you volunteer? Do you have experiences maybe working with a church organization or attending art classes outside of school, or maybe you play a sport? Whatever you do, we are hopefully going to be able to show us both your leadership and your general participation. We want to see that there are some things that are important to you that you've been able to invest more time in, but also that you are happy to be part of a group even when you're not in charge, because both of those factors are really important parts of the Oxy community. Our students are not only doing great things on campus, but they're supporting each other and attending everyone else's programs as well. All of that will come together in addition to what we learn about you individually in the application. So what are you writing in your essay? How are you answering our questions? And we ask several questions at Oxy for you to answer in this application. We want to know why you are applying to Oxy. We want to know how you see yourself and share in our values of diversity and community. We also want to learn about things that make you unique, and just ideally get to know you as much as we can in this process. So we highly, highly encourage interviews. This is something we want everyone who's applying to Oxy to participate in, and those are all being conducted online this year, which makes it actually really accessible. So you can request an interview on our website and complete that before your application is turned in, and that way we get to have a conversation with you and talk face to face, even if over a screen, but still get to know you in this process, and you, of course, get to know us. Now, COVID has had a huge impact on everyone's experience. There is no question. So we understand that your spring semester might be different. You may not have grades. Your school may have changed what it offered. Maybe you didn't have access to testing. There are a lot of things. So that will not be held against you. Please understand that we know this, and we are going to be looking for those explanations. All the more reason to interview with us so we can talk about that experience in person. Also, similar to what Will was sharing, Oxy will not be requiring test scores for the coming year. We just really don't believe that testing is viable, for one thing, when so many tests are being canceled and there's so many questions about online testing experiences. So those are not required. If you did have a test score for an SAT or ACT that you took before the pandemic and you would like to share it with us, we would be happy to see it, but we really don't want you trying to get that test scheduled now when there are just so many questions about the validity and even the organization of the testing process. Now, on the next slide, you'll see a little bit about our financial aid, because this is actually crucial to the Oxy community. We have both merit and need-based financial aid. And on the side of need-based financial aid, you should know that Oxy meets 100% of demonstrated need. So anyone who is admitted to the college, we make sure can actually afford to attend Oxy. And this is huge, and this is actually why we are able to bring students from so many different backgrounds. Over 70% of our students receive financial aid. This is just an incredible part of our accessibility and our values as a campus. To apply for financial aid, you would need to complete the FAFSA, that's the federal application, as well as the CSS profile. Both of these together are going to make sure that we are offering you as much financial aid as you need. For merit scholarships, your common application is all you need to submit. There is not anything else that you need to do to be considered for merit scholarship, but I will be clear, merit scholarships are incredibly competitive at Oxy because we reserve the majority of our funding for need-based financial aid. Now, merit scholarships would be between $10,000 and $25,000. And you would get that amount for all 4 years that you attend the college, but only about 20% of admitted students are offered a merit scholarship. Compare that again to over 70% of our students that are receiving need-based financial aid. You are able to predict your need-based financial aid. The net price calculator on our website is just a really helpful tool for you to put in information as a family and see what you think Oxy would actually cost for you to attend. For merit scholarships, we do not offer any predictions for those. So you could tell me today your perfect scores and grades. I would not promise you a merit scholarship, again, because this is a very competitive process and we're looking at your entire application. So this is where your academic experience and your leadership is really what's going to stand out to us to see if you would earn that merit scholarship. So those are kind of all of the big points for Oxy that I want you to know. I would be really excited to hear from you, to stay in touch with you. I know that this is a really interesting time to be pursuing college. For those of you who are going into your senior year, I just hope that you are able to make the most of it. Even if it isn't starting in a way that you predicted or expected, that this can still really be a great year and a great step towards where you might be enrolling and applying for college for the year after. So I'm just so glad to be here with you all today, and I will turn it over to Maria now. And I'm as excited as you are to learn about her university in Spain. So if you all don't go to Spain, which is probably the best option, then just know that there is a small school in Los Angeles that would be happy to hear from you.
Thank you, Courtney. Okay, we'll start with a video first. As Nagla said, my name is Maria Healy, and we'll start with the video first, okay? Okay, so our university was founded in 1952, and the big part of this university is the human person, right? Where every focus from the application process to the classroom to outside when you finish the university, we care about not just our students and the professors, but the world in general, right? So we give the right means to students to find out who they are, their talents, develop themselves, and then go back into society and make the world a better place, right? So a little bit about the university. It's a Catholic private university in Spain. We are located in Pamplona, Spain. I don't know if you've ever been to Spain, but we are in the northern part of Spain, very close to France. I remember when I was living in Pamplona, we would go to road trips to France, and it was very close, right? And then, so our main campus is in Pamplona, but we also have a campus in San Sebastián, which is about 45 minutes away from Pamplona. Pamplona is a very small town. Most of the people there are older or families, but then a lot of students. So it's a very university town. It's really great to live there as a student because you walk everywhere. It's very safe. I know a lot of parents are scared about the idea of sending their children abroad, but I know a lot of parents that have done it and they feel at peace when they're in Pamplona because it is like being like home. Like when I was there, my parents were not worried at all, and they usually do worry, but they knew I was in a safe environment, and just the people there really care about you, and you feel at home. And then San Sebastián is the engineering campus, so we have an engineering school, which is the academic level is very high, but I know they do offer a program where for international students so they can do a smoother transition. And then we have a campus in Madrid. This is mostly for master's students. And then in Barcelona, this is the MBA program. So a lot of the professors that teach business at the university are alumni from the IESE Business School, which is ranked really high. I think it's number 1, number 3 in the world. Okay, and then I know right now you're thinking about what to study or what your skills are. We do offer a test that you can take, and it asks you various things about your personality and your talents and your skills, and then you get results, and then we can go over it. So you would go over this test with me, and then we can talk about what your skills are so you can choose the right major for you. And then a big part of choosing this is if you study what you like, you will be more successful, right? Sometimes we are pressured into a specific major because of family or because it looks more successful. However, every person is unique and has unique abilities and skills. And if you choose something that you love, then you will find that place where you will be successful and you will give back to others and your community. Okay, and a little bit about our majors. We have a lot of majors. We have a lot of variety. However, as an international student, it is important to look at what major is best for an international student. I don't know, maybe you want to come back and work in the US, so it's better to choose a major that has a more international focus, right? So I know a lot of students that are international, they go into the School of Economics, and then the School of Law has an international relations degree, which is very good. And all the schools have a focus in international, so it's really important to look at all the different options that you have. And again, I'm the regional rep, so we can do an interview with you and see which is the best degree for you, okay? And then this is, we have technical sciences. So the School of Engineering is in San Sebastian, which I talked about. It's 45 minutes away. It's a beach town, which is beautiful, and this is only engineering. So if you're interested in engineering, you would be placed in San Sebastian. And then we have a School of Architecture, and this offers architecture and design. And the School of Science is very big, and we have a hospital also in the university. So if you study medicine, you do your practice in the hospital, or also nursing. And there's a big research center at the university, which a lot of professors that are teaching are also doing research. So they do have that very high academic level and can give back to this knowledge to students. So yeah, the School of Science is very broad too. And then this is a very important thing for you, because you are all you would be international students. We have a gap year program. It's either 6 months or a year. And this program offers Spanish classes. So we do take placement tests for Spanish, but if you don't have that level of Spanish, it's very hard to go right into a degree program at our university, because it'll be a very different level. So we offer this gap year, which you take the level of Spanish that you are in, and you perfect the Spanish, you are indulged in this cultural experience, and then you can also take college credit courses that you are interested in. For example, you want to study psychology, you take Spanish classes, and then you would take psychology classes, which is a major that you're interested in, right? So even if you don't decide to stay at our university for the rest of your degree, you can do this program and then come back to the US. Or you can do this program and then decide, you know what, I love this university, I want to stay, and then it is a smoother transition, right, into that degree program that you want to do. And then this is a list of our schools that have bilingual degrees. So there are majors that have English classes as well. I remember when I went there for a year, and I took a lot of classes in English, a lot of business classes, and it was really good. But I also took classes in Spanish. So I think it's very important right now, primarily, to be bilingual, right? I think it's a big thing that companies look for, and not only bilingual, but you are being bicultural, right? You are expanding your horizons and learning from different cultures and being comfortable in writing and reading in Spanish. So I think it's a great opportunity. And then also there's a lot of the majors have opportunities to travel, right? So you can go and do a semester abroad. And then here's our rankings. So we are third in teaching ranking after the University of Cambridge and the University of Oxford. So what does this mean? This means that the students are very happy with the academic level, with the teaching level. I know the professors do a great job. They also do a lot of research. So yeah, we're happy to be in this ranking. And then yes, like I said, research, first university in research in the CYD ranking, and then employability. This is very important to know, because as an international student, you're scared to go abroad, and then you probably want to come back here and work, right? I think the university does a great job, since it is very international. The important thing is to network, right? To do internships in the US if you're interested in, and then research, right? Research how to come back here. And I know a lot of companies do value the fact that the student went to another country to study and are bilingual and have that competitive advantage. So the ratio for students and professors is 12:1. The classroom size is not very big. Some classrooms are bigger just because it's a course that everyone needs to take. But I remember when I was there was about 15 to 30 students in each classroom on average. I had bigger classrooms, but nothing like 500. No, like the maximum, I think it was 100 students in one classroom. And an important thing is that the professors, so when you get there, you are paired up with a mentor, which is a professor who helps you. Like if you're struggling with a class, if you want a recommendation letter, I remember I asked one of the professors to write me a recommendation letter, and he was more than happy to do it. And then they're also very available. Like I remember getting a lot of help from all the professors, and they really care about your growth and your success as a student. Okay, and then I talked about being international. We are 25% international. It also depends on what you study. Like I know the business school has a lot more international students, and then some other degrees not so much. So it's good to ask. You know, you can ask me. You know, I'm thinking about this degree. How much international students is there? But yes, it is 25%. And then, like I said, you can study abroad a semester. We have partnerships with different universities, and yes. And then I didn't touch on this, but there's the size of the school is about 10,000 undergrad students. So it's not huge, but it's not very like super small. And then we're not only we don't only care about academics, which is important. You know, the academic level is very high and it has a lot of prestige in our university, but also the overall person, right? If you're interested in arts, in sports, in other cultural things, we have a museum of art in our university. It's a contemporary art museum, and we have a drama club and a lot of different options. So it's very important when you get there to ask about these opportunities and to be involved, so you can meet other people that have the same passions as you. And then also global impact. If you're interested in volunteering, we do care about that, because it's very important to, I mean, we have this opportunity to study, to be a student, and to have high level education. Well, it's important to give back to the world, right? And make sure we have our feet in the floor, but also our high goals, right, for our future. And then eco-friendly. I remember when I was there, we have a beautiful campus and it's very green, and we were awarded the Green Flag Award in Europe. So the school does a great job in taking care of that. And then I talked about research. We're research-centered school. And then things for the application, things that we need to know. So this link, I would say write it down, because it's a great link to know about the whole application process. There's also videos on housing and a lot of just useful information. So if I were you, I would copy down this link. And then, okay, for funding. So we are the only Spanish university that accepts FAFSA loans. So I know a lot of students here apply to FAFSA. So look for our university, because we do accept loans. We don't accept just money, like free money, but student loans we do accept from FAFSA. And then once you do the application, you have to do a estudio de costi becas, that's what it's called. And it's based on your needs. So you put all your financial information, and then we tell you how much discount we can give you. So every student, every situation is different, but it's good to do that. And then we have a scholarship also that it's based on needs, but then also you need good grades for it. So if you have that need for a scholarship, ask about it, and then, but also we do look at your grades. And then I made this chart just so you get an idea of how much you will spend in studying here. So you can either, I mean, this is a tuition. Some schools are more expensive, like medicine. Medicine is about $16,000. So that is the most expensive degree. But most of it are on the average of 10 to 14,000. So it really depends on the program that you want to study. And then I made a calculation of housing. You can either live in student housing, which is more expensive, but then if you live in an apartment, it's a lot less expensive. And then I put an estimation of travel, because just traveling to Pamplona and then traveling back for Christmas, if you want to visit your family, there I put an estimate of $3,000 for travel. And, or I mean, if you want to travel in Europe, that is a lot less expensive than traveling here, but that's a different case. That is your option, right? Then, okay, so for housing, we have different types of housing. I always recommend for the first year to do the university residence halls, just because this is in the university. This picture is actually one of the residence halls. They're beautiful houses and they're very homey. The only thing is, I do tell the students that there's schedules, for the houses, because the purpose of the house is to make the environment homey, and then also have the students focus on their academics, so they don't fall behind. It's the first year is the most important year to, get on track with your degree, and it's the hardest year, I think, just to get settled in. And I think these houses are really helpful for students to meet new students and get involved in campus and just live the university experience. And then we have other residences that are outside of the university. These are either religious ran, like there's a one for girls that is a little outside of the university, and it's also very homey as well, but it's not in the university. And then there's also supervised apartments. I lived in a supervised apartment, which is a really good experience. You have a supervisor that is a student, and then you live with other 3 girls. So there's about 4 to 5 girls in your apartment, or boys, it depends on what you choose. But you have a lady that comes and cooks for you and also and cleans. So it's a very comfortable situation, and it's not very expensive. I think it's more expensive to live here in the dorms, but this is a very good way to also meet a lot of people, because you meet the students that are also in those apartments, which are close by. And then you can also do your own, like choose your apartment. There's also a lot of companies that help you with that. And then if you want to live with a family, you can also ask about that option, and we'll find a family that you can live with. Okay, so we look for admissions. We look at your GPA of junior year. So that's a transcript that we look at. I'm going to ask about this year because I think it's going to be a little different, but we do look at your transcript, your high school transcript. And then we have an online application. You fill out your personal statement, which is a short essay just stating why you want to study at the University of Navarra, a little bit about yourself. And we also do an interview. So the interview will be with me. And this is where I really know what the student wants and if this is a good fit for you and this university. And then we also do a test, an online test, which is done through the university. So once you complete your application and all your documentation is submitted in the application form, you get a link to take that exam. Okay. And these are the deadlines. We have 3 periods, one is in November, the other is in February, and the last one is in April. There's a late application. Usually it's not, a lot of students don't apply in June, but some students do. But it is late, and it is harder to find a place if you apply in June. Okay, so these are the steps for the application process. First, you register. So also copy down this link. This is where you register in as a student, as an applicant, okay? And then you submit your documentation. You complete your online application. Also, I'm very available. I'm very available to help these students throughout the process because it can be a little different, you know, in the regular process here in the States. So I mean, you can ask me any questions and I can guide you through this application process, okay? And then the entrance exam and the interview. And then once you get your decision, then you have to enroll in the university, okay? And then if you want to visit the campus virtually, here is the link. You might want to copy it down and you can see all the campus. I know it's sad that right now you can't visit the campuses because of the situation, but at least you can do it virtually. And sorry, I forgot to talk about our situation right now. We are going back to school normally in September. The only setback right now is the documentation. For our American students, the consulates have been very backed up. So right now the big issue is getting the student visa to arrive into Spain. But we are not an online school, so it is very important that the students are there physically. I know some students will have trouble getting there, but we do offer an online option if they cannot get there. But if you can get there, the students will be there physically, unless you cannot get your visa, okay? The other thing is that once the students arrive, they will take the COVID test and then quarantine if necessary. So it is very important for the health of the students and the professors and the community, right? So all these measures are taken. The campus has put more measures in cleanliness, and the hospital that we have there is available for students if anything happens, you know. So I know on a personal level, I went to that university and they take very good care of the students and of the campus. Like, it is very clean, and I know they're doing different schedules for students, so there are not too many in the classroom, right? So there's social distancing and all the necessary precautions for students and professors. Okay, and thank you so much. I don't know, I think my email will be provided, but if you have any other questions, I would be more than happy to schedule a phone call or a session with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kuka with UC Santa Barbara.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I'm the last speaker, I promise. I'm Kuka Acosta, the Associate Director for Admission at the University of California, Santa Barbara, UCSB. As you can see photos on the screen, the campus is located in the most gorgeous place, which of course, Santa Barbara County. And Santa Barbara has the luxury of a third of campus being literally oceanfront property with the San Ynez Mountains to the north of us. So as you learn a little bit about us, which you're going to see on the next slide, is that Santa Barbara's campus is dedicated to being a tier 1 research institution. We're a medium-sized campus with about 26,000 students, but of those students, about 90% are undergraduates. That is our big call. The fact that our faculty are teaching our introduction sociology class, faculty are teaching your introduction engineering class, faculty are teaching your sophomore classes, and more. The 90% of undergraduates gives you the opportunity to be the majority on campus and the focal point of coming in and getting your 4-year degree. So I promise to love you for 4 years in your undergraduate studies and then move you along so that you're in a postgraduate program or you're directly in a career. Santa Barbara's campus, as you can see on the next slide, will give you an opportunity to really get to learn from some of the best faculty in the world. We have the luxury of bragging about 6 Nobel Prize winning faculty on our campus, 3 in the area of physics, 2 in the area of chemistry, and 1 in the area of economics. Yes, they're faculty who are working with undergraduate students in their laboratories. Suji Nakamura, who you see on the screen, won his Nobel Prize for the discovery of the Blu-ray iode. What is that, you ask? Well, if you know physics, you know what it is. If you're not a physics person, i.e. me, then the easiest way to state is that Santa Barbara's campus includes Suji Nakamura, who works on projects that created things like the LED light, that created the backlighting for your smartphone. Thank the man. We did. We built him a building. What you're going to find is that he is not unique in that faculty are constantly winning prizes, they're constantly winning awards, and they're constantly doing research. And they're also constantly teaching undergraduate students. The next slide, which you're going to find, is that Santa Barbara's campus is divided into a 3 college undergraduate structure. And if you're ready to apply to the University of California, you will find that UCSB, being one of those campuses, will ask you to select your intended first choice major and an alternate major in one of these 3 colleges. Now, you're gonna find about 100 different majors across these colleges. That can be somewhat confusing. So let's divide our knowledge so that you understand the differences between colleges and you pick your major in the correct college. We'll start with the first college, which is the College of Letters and Science. The College of Letters and Science is our largest college with 80 majors and about 90% of our undergraduate students. For Santa Barbara's campus at the freshman level, there are majors in anything from actuarial science, art, theater, dance, music, history, 10 biology majors, sociology, and so much more. Freshmen will also find that this is where we allow you to come in as an undeclared student. Undeclared, or I don't know, is a perfectly acceptable way to start at UCSB. In the Office of Admissions, we do not review your major in the College of Letters and Science. What? Yes, major is not a factor in admissions if you're applying to any of the programs that are in the College of Letters and Science. So take heart that there is no selective major. There is no capped major in the College of Letters and Science. Instead, our popular programs have a pre-major status. So pre-political science, pre-economics, pre-biology. And that just means that you have a set of classes that you're taking in your freshman and sophomore year. Pass those classes with a C or better, get a minimum GPA that we publicly post, and you're in the major regardless of space. For many of our students, this allows them to change their major. I can come in as a history major, change to political science. I can come in as a biology major, change to economics, so on and so forth. At UCSB, our transfer students do have to pick a major, but our freshmen in the College of Letters and Science do not. Now, that is the complete opposite statement if you're an engineer. At UC Santa Barbara, the College of Engineering is one of our smaller programs. In fact, it is the smallest engineering program in the University of California system. We are even smaller than Merced's campus. Santa Barbara has the core 5 engineering programs, so that's inclusive of chemical, electrical, mechanical, computer engineering, and computer science in the College of Engineering. We have more qualified, amazing students applying to engineering than we have space. So this will be a selective college, and each of the 5 programs will be impacted for freshman review. How do you stand out? How do you become an engineer in one of the top 20 programs in the United States? Here's what you do. You showcase your math, and your math abilities. I'm looking for higher level coursework in your high school curriculum. So that could be a pre-calculus, it could be a calculus. I'm looking for good math grades, pretty math grades. I want to see A's, I want to see B's. I'm going to be okay with a C, but I'm not looking for anything below that. And then of course, if you wanted to showcase, there are optional exams. Not going to throw out any of those exams yet. We'll talk about that later. Why bother in engineering? Well, a 10-to-1 student to faculty ratio in the College of Engineering. The fact that you could stay a 5th year and finish both a bachelor's and a master's degree in engineering. And the fact that 3 of those 6 Nobel Prize winners are full-time faculty in the College of Engineering are one of the reasons why many of our students want to be at UCSB. All right, College of Letters and Science, College of Engineering, which means there's one more college, and that's the College of Creative Studies, also known as CCS. Now, the College of Creative Studies offers 8 majors: art, biology, chemistry, computing, mathematics, music composition, physics, writing, and literature. 8 majors. Some of these majors are offered in other colleges. So what's the difference? Well, the College of Creative Studies was developed by faculty who were looking at undergraduates that were already 2 steps ahead, and we were forcing them into general coursework. The faculty were also looking at students who had a narrow focus. I love physics, but I like astrophysics. I love music, but I want to do music composition. So they created the College of Creative Studies to act as a way to funnel students into an intensive program, allowing them to create new knowledge in their field, not just be receptors of knowledge in the classroom. So these students fill out a supplemental application that is not read by the Office of Admissions. It is read by a faculty committee in the department you're applying to. So if you're going to try to be a biochemist, that biology or that chemistry department is reading it. If you're trying to be a if you're trying to be a writing and literature major, then it's the writing department that's reading your supplemental application. That faculty review, just like graduate school, will allow you the opportunity to talk about that very narrow focus. And if selected, then they notify us in the Office of Admissions of their desire to have you on campus. And if you are admitted, then you are assigned a faculty advisor, that one-on-one relationship. This is really unique for a major research institution. Most of our students will have shows of original work, or they'll be published with original research by the end of senior year, creating that new knowledge. Over 80% of these science students are directly funneled into PhD programs. So this is a great option for those who know their major, who know their specific area in their major. Oh, that's not you? Then you're looking at UCSB's College of Letters and Science. That is you. Go check out our College of Creative Studies supplemental website, because that supplement will open in mid-November for the class of 2021 and will be due by December. Okay, so we now learned about our college structure. You might know your major, but some of you don't, and that's okay. You instead know your career. And that's why at UCSB, we have pre-professional tracks open to every and any student on our campus. From our health professions track that has pre-med, pre-dentistry, pre-pharmacy, etc., to our pre-law advising track. Sharon on the screen happens to be at Syracuse University School of Law. She has a full ride scholarship through the Air Force, and she went through our ROTC program at UCSB. So exciting, right? Some of you might be looking though for business, and in that instance, UCSB has a entrepreneurship track, ranked in business magazines, in Forbes magazine as one of the top entrepreneurship schools. It's confusing to students that we do not have a business school. Instead, we have this amazing opportunity for students to go into a certificate program in business entrepreneurship. It's called TMP, or Technology Management Program. These particular students across the fields can be in any major. They can be history majors, they can be electrical engineers, and add on these particular professional programs. Okay, so we know about the course of study. We understand that these professional programs exist, but what about campus life? On the next slide, what you're going to see is that UC Santa Barbara has a lot of research that our students are involved in across fields. And while the guy holding the skeleton is funny and cute, recognize that research is happening in areas like history. Research is happening in areas like theater, music, and dance. For many of our students, this gives them the opportunity to really explore options of asking questions. We want you to be intuitive. We want you to be curious. And then we'll give you the resources to help you get there. The student resources at UC Santa Barbara are inclusive of our educational support programs. We have on our campus a building called the Student Resource Building that you'll see on the screen. Within it, it's a one-stop shop for our undergraduate students to find resources. Our first generation students have things like our CLAS program, which is our campus learning assistance services. You can have advising on how to take multiple choice tests, or you can learn what's the type of notes that I should be taking when I'm sitting in a lecture and they're doing equations. You can also find yourself getting cultural support programs. At UCSB, about a third of our students are Chicano Latino. We are a Hispanic serving institution. About a third of our students are Asian American Pacific Islander. And about a third of our students are finding themselves being Caucasian or a mix. So very diverse on our campus. Because of that, you'll find cultural resource centers, from the African Diasporic Research Center to our Native American Resource Center in this building, so that you have the opportunity to have that academic aspect, but also a community aspect that's built on culture and interests. So who is our community? Well, you'll find that at UC Santa Barbara, the community is primarily undergraduate, and it's led by our Chancellor, Henry T. Yang. You'll see him on the screen. He lives on campus. He and his wife will eat in the dining commons. They'll walk around campus. He also acts as a faculty member in mechanical engineering, since he himself is an engineer. And that residential community at UCSB is something that's pretty cool. Over 80% of our students live walking, biking, or skateboarding distance to class. At UCSB, we have 8 residence halls, and we have 6 university-owned apartments. And then next to campus is our college community of Isla Vista, where many of our students choose to live when they're off campus. Our students can find themselves really building a social community as well as an academic community. And then our students give back. For UCSB, you have over 9,000 students that volunteer in the community building their resume. And this could be based off of a student organization that they're in. And at UCSB, there are a lot of student organizations to be aware of. We have about 500 campus organizations listed on our student roster. Some of these organizations are our Greek system, so for those of you who are looking at fraternities and sororities, but there are also organizations that are based off of academics. So maybe you're in Engineers Without Borders, maybe you're in something that's cultural like our Sikh Student Association, maybe something religious like Hillel, or maybe something that's really tracking your career. Like, I'm going to be part of that Teachers Association since I'm getting a minor in education at UCSB. Options and opportunities to really build. And for many of our students, this is the way that you not just network, you build your resume, you socialize, and you explore who you are as an individual. Some students want their extracurricular activities to be a little bit more physical, and that's where Division I athletics comes in. At UCSB, we are a Division I campus. What you're going to see if you click really quickly is that we have 19 Division I teams. Those Division I teams are going to showcase for you the opportunity to go in and cheer for your favorite squad, or if you're looking to be recruited, note that the Division I coaches hold their own scholarship money for each of these sports. Now for Santa Barbara, if you're not ready for the Division I level, don't worry, we've got you covered. We do have club sports, which travel and compete with other universities, and intramural sports, which are UCSB teams competing against each other. I love watching my tour guides get out there and get involved in field hockey, lacrosse, rugby. I keep getting invited to inner tube water polo, which is very competitive. You sit in an inner tube and you try to play water polo, which is a lot of fun. So our students really do get involved on campus, and we know that it feels like paradise sometimes being on a UCSB campus. So we want students to have a global perspective. And because of that, Santa Barbara is proud to represent all UC campuses in our Education Abroad program. So the offices held at UCSB are open to all students across the UC system. There are more than 300 university partnerships and programs in more than 40 countries. And so our students can find themselves in any major. I can be a political science major, I can be a statistics major, I can do data science, I can be theater, and I can think about going abroad. Oh, you're scared about leaving the country? I get it. I totally do. Well, don't worry. We also have internship options in not just campus, but also in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento. Our internship programs, the UCDC and the UC Sacramento programs, are credit-bearing programs. So our students can travel, they can see the world, they can do an internship, they can get college credit, and these programs, yeah, they're covered under financial aid as well. So it's an option for students to, again, build their resume. Some of my young alums are pretty impressive. I love pointing them out. They have careers that are based off of their major, but not all of them do. Don't be scared of being a biochemistry major who goes into business. Don't be scared of being a student who's in engineering that goes and does research in theater. So options and opportunities are abundant for our students because of the large scale structure of that Tier 1 research institution. Now, while UCSB and all the UC campuses prepare students for graduate school, about a third of our students end up going into a graduate program after leaving UCSB. And the rest of our students, about 86%, will find themselves either in graduate school or directly in industry within 6 months of graduation. So how do you become a gaucho? Wait, what's a gaucho? Well, UC Santa Barbara's mascot, we are the gauchos, which are Argentinian cowboys. How do you become a gaucho? Well, the first step is to fill out an application. That University of California application opened on August 1st. For the class of 2021. The application is accessible to you August, September, and October, but the submit button is not. Yeah, that submit button will only activate in November. So between November 1st and November 30th. We don't have early action and we don't have early decision. And yeah, it's a UC application, so you can apply to any and all of the UC campuses. If you choose Santa Barbara as a campus, recognize that our holistic freshman admission is going to take a lot of information into consideration. We'll start with your A through G requirements. We're going to look at not just the minimum requirements, but we're going to see how you challenged yourself in your senior year. We're going to see where did you go above the minimum? Is it that you like science, so you took 3 or 4 years where 2 was required? Is it that you like languages, so you took 3 or 4 years where only 2 was required? So note that these particular curriculum choices are part of the 14 factors of admission that UC campuses are allowed to look at. We will calculate your GPA from sophomore and junior year. We will calculate your GPA on a weighted scale. And then due to COVID-19, a lot of changes happened. And one of the biggest announcements was that the University of California is now, drum roll, test optional. That's right. UC, all campuses are test optional. If you're looking at UC Santa Barbara, you can submit scores in the application. We do not require them for any major, and we're not making any recommendations for tests. So if you need or want to take them for another school, feel free to do so. If you share them with us, we can fold them in, but it is not a requirement. Our biggest requirement is to know who you are as an individual, and that's where your personal insight questions come in. I'll put a plug in for UCSB's webinars on the personal insight questions. All right, freshman admissions, check the box, holistic. I do want to point out briefly that we do have a transfer path, and that transfer path allows you the opportunity to come in as a junior. So doing 2 years at a community college, or I should say 60 credits at a community college. We do have a transfer admissions guarantee with every California community college, and we do have that guarantee in the College of Letters and Science specifically. So I can guarantee you admission to biology, guarantee you admission to sociology, and more. Woo! How do you learn about UCSB from the student point of view? Because of course I'm an old lady and, well, students tell me the truth. Well, I tell you the truth as well, but note that we have some great Instagram accounts for you so that you can see student life, all of its glory. The @UCSB Life account is UCSB students talking to you, and then the UCSB admissions is me, the admissions officer, giving you facts and information. As always, we encourage you to stay in touch, either joining our mailing list or emailing us directly with any of your questions that you might have. The email address that you see on the screen is monitored daily by my team, so if you're having any questions that you don't get answered today, note that you can always use the UCSB For Me email account asking for me, Cuca Costa, your admissions counselor here in the local area. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Na for any questions.
Okay, welcome back. I'm back. So 4 schools in one presentation, note to self, a lot. So, but it was great. And I feel like we got a ton of information today. If I can ask you all to come back on screen and unmute yourself, that would be awesome. So that way we can all be here for questions if anybody has them. I'm going to wait for that Q&A box to light up. And as I do that, I'm going to roll through these so quickly. We're done listening, right? I want to hear from you guys. So you guys all know how to get a hold of me. You know exactly what it is that I offer. So here you go. This is what it is. And that's what I do. And these are our contact information. So I would love for you guys to come in and ask us some questions. Not me, but all of your experts that are on screen today. So I'm going to start. I had one question come in the pre, do you have a question that input for me? It came from a student. So I know that much. And the question is, are the SAT and ACT still necessary / helpful for applications? So if you can address that directly for your university, that would be amazing. And whoever wants to pipe in first. I don't know if we all see the same on screen, but I have it: Kuka, Will, Maria, and Courtney. Okay, so let's just go that way then.
Sure. We removed the SAT from our merit scholarship calculation for the class of 21, and it's test optional when it comes to the University of California policy. So if you cannot get into a test center, it's not healthy, it's not safe, then no, it won't impact you at UCSB.
Great.
I was going to say at Occidental, oh, sorry, I think I did go out of order, but at Oxy, we're not looking or expecting those test scores. If you took a test prior to COVID and you are really proud of that score, that's the only time I would tell you to share it with us, because we don't want you to give us something that you think is a good thing. But don't try to take the test now. There are so many other things you could be focusing on, and we'd rather you really try to make the most of your fall semester, especially as it might be a slightly different academic experience.
And I will fully echo that.
And we don't take SAT scores anyway. We have an online test for our university, which you once you apply, you take the test after. So don't worry about the SAT.
Great, awesome. All right, so I will go ahead and read off the ones that are popping into the Q&A, and then we'll just keep in this same roundabout. Does that sound good? First one says, thank you for all the terrific information. Sounds like most of all are having students back on campus this fall. Is that correct? No.
So maybe I'm the only no, so let me just clarify. Oxy is fully remote in the fall. So we are offering emergency housing for students who do not have access to safe housing. We will have less than 100 students on campus. Every course will be online, including the students who are living on campus. And the California COVID numbers just really skyrocketed this summer. So we were planning a full fall semester online and just had to make the decision for the safety of our community members. So looking forward to that spring more than I ever have anything in my life. But I know just the advantage of being in an online class where you're still only in a room of 10 people in a Zoom really does have some advantages. So we know our students are still gonna do really well even with the online semester.
All right, so Will, Illinois Tech, and Maria, University of Navarra are going to be back on campus, and Kuka, UCSB on campus, or?
Yeah, I'd say less than 10% of the classes might be actually offered in person. Everything else will be remote instruction. So if someone wants to do 100% remote, they can.
Okay, great. So I've got another one here. Kuka, did you answer one?
I did, I'm sorry.
I was like, it disappeared. I know it was there. That's okay. I know it was directly for UCSB. So I'm glad you answered it, and hopefully you got your answer. So another one is, what is your stance on AP classes, AP test scores? Do you accept class grades and or test scores and apply them for credit?
Fun and exciting. AP scores, a 3, 4, or 5 will be a passing score for AP credit. All UC campuses will award unit credit, by the way, on that. But depending on the major and depending on the UC campus, a score above that might be required for course credit articulation. So note that we have what's called an AP translation chart. It's attached to our general catalog. It's online. Look it up. so that you know exactly what that would equal, at least on the UC front.
And we are very similar on the Illinois Tech side as well. For us, it's a 3-year higher in a humanities course, and then a 4 or a 5 in a science or math course for credit.
Okay.
At Oxy, if you have a 4 or a 5 only on an AP exam, or if you have a 6 or 7 on a higher level international baccalaureate exam, those all count toward course credit. They do not apply towards your major or the core requirements. They only count towards elective credit. So it will ultimately reduce the total number of classes you need to graduate, but it will not take away from the courses in your major and the courses for the core that we're really excited for you to take at Oxy.
Great.
For us, those usually don't transfer over. The only thing that could help is if you're taking Spanish and you have an AP course in Spanish and you take the AP test in Spanish and you get a 5, you can start a degree in Spanish, like a regular degree. You don't have to do the gap year at first. Okay.
Great. So this one's directly for Kuka. Can Kuka talk more about the TMP and how we can find out more? Is it a major? ?
Of course. So TMP, the Technology Management Program, is housed out of the College of Engineering at UCSB. Most of our students are doing a senior project in engineering. Many of those have turned into either startup companies or they've turned into larger companies. Inogen Technologies, Lyft. Yes, Logan Green is a UCSB alum, go Lyft. Zappos.com and so forth. So because of the entrepreneurial spirit of the campus, they opened it up to the whole student body, not just engineers. Students will take a set of 7 classes. Those 7 classes can be started in your sophomore, junior, or as late as your senior year, depending on your major. You take the curriculum. There is a venture capitalist competition in your senior year that is going to pair you with 2 to 3 other students. So I could be a mechanical engineer, Will is a computer scientist, Maria is a history major, and Courtney happens to be a physics major. We're a team together. We have a concept. We present it with an entrepreneur who is our mentor. That entrepreneur walks us through the whole process of building a business plan. We present at the end in a mini Shark Tank competition, and then money is given to our winning teams. So as much as $10,000 was given away this spring to students to start their own companies, which was pretty exciting. tmp.ucsb.edu.
Great. Awesome. She's just getting rid of them. Kuka's on it.
I'm sorry. Stop touching things.
Oh, go do it. It's all good. I need you on the rest of my webinars from now until September 8th. All good. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else coming in? Are we good? All right. As you can see, all our contact information is up there. Again, I think that each one of these universities has something amazing to offer each of you. If you're looking for something specific, each one of them has that specific to give to you. Each one of these representatives that are on your screen right now and their contact information on screen, they are more than willing to answer your questions. All you got to do is email them. You got to call them. I know we didn't discuss this, but demonstrated interest, whether that is something you guys look at or not. I know UC doesn't, but other schools do. But you know what? Kuka, you say no, but I know if one of my students continued to call you and email you when that name comes across your table, it'd be like, oh, I remember this person. I know it's not going to make a difference in their admissions, but at least it would be, a way of communicating and getting information, right? That's what they
have them call us early, though. I think all of us, if we do demonstrated interest or not, I'd rather have someone call me and walk through the problems as they're filling out their application so that it's the best version of themselves. Because we at the UCs do not do letters of recommendation. Don't send it. Don't want it. We don't do transcripts. Don't want it. We don't allow for resumes. No. So if it's not in the application, you're out of luck. I don't Google you. I don't stalk your social media. With 110,000 applications, I don't have time. So for us, it's no, call me to ask for help, but it won't be demonstrated interest.
Right. So she's the person to be calling and asking on those personal insight questions and those things on how, again, to put your best self forward so that when you're one of those 110 applications, you get one of those spots that are available. Same, but once again, they're all there for you to contact them. And I'm here for you also whenever you need it. Next week, we've got academy based. So it will be the U.S. Naval Academy, the U.S. Military Academy, and the U.S. Air Force will be presenting. So for those of you who are looking for a route to college that is not traditional with regards to a university and going to an academy, you will have 3 people presenting for you next week. Once again, I have no idea how I got all 3 of them to say yes to me, but they did. So I'm excited about that. And if we have no more questions, we're going to close it out for today. And don't forget to reach out to Kuka, Will, Maria, and Courtney. And thank you all. If you can just give us a wave and say a goodbye, that way you'll come back on screen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.